Hi, I'm Kitegirl, Annabelle Drum. In watching the news of Hurricane Sandy and how it's wreaking havoc on the east coast of the USA, it reminded me very much how important it is to be prepared, not just for my American friends, but for any of us, no matter where we are in the world. Now, there's plenty of information on the internet that you'll find about emergency supplies you might need in case of long power outages, floods, earthquakes, bushfires, or tropical storms. But there's one thing that seems to be overlooked a lot of the time, and that's getting organised your household and business documentation. Have you got all your documents in one place, where if you were only given a very short amount of time to evacuate, for whatever reason, you would easily be able to grab what you needed of your documents while juggling thoughts at the same time of your family, your valuables, how to protect your property, etc. Now, I did an interview with Sarah Welch, ironically from New York in USA. Sarah is an organizational expert, and even though I recorded her advice for my new Stress and Burnout video course, I would like to share a piece of that interview with you on what she had to say about documentation in emergencies. Let's take a look.
We started Buttoned Up back in 2004 because it was me, my business partner Alicia, and her two sisters, and all four of us had been very disorganized in very critical areas at moments that cost us big time. Alicia and I were together on 9/11. We had families that were, downtown. And, in the aftermath of that, you get very clear on the fact that if you don't have the really critical stuff organized and at the ready when you need it, it's way worse trying to claw your way back after the fact than if you would have had an important emergency kit basically organized, for example.
It's unfortunate we need an emergency to remind us of these things, really, sometimes, isn't it?
I know. So we would say when you look at the organizational category as a whole, most companies tend to look at teeny tiny compartments of your life, like your agenda, for example, your calendar, or your toys. And there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of products that are aimed at getting one teeny tiny compartment of your life perfectly organized. But if you're standing sort of in the middle of it all and trying to figure out, how do I get all of me organized and enough and in the right areas, nobody was addressing that. Nobody was looking at it from a human perspective. They were looking at it from the externalities. And so we started Buttoned Up because we did really want to help people figure out, how do you get all of you buttoned up in the right places where it matters? Because color coding your sock drawer in the big scheme of things isn't that important. It's not going to they look pretty, but that's not necessarily what it means to be organized.
Right.
So we looked at it from the human out, and there's sort of three broad categories. They're the essentials. So if you got nothing else organized but these essentials, you would be organized where it counts. And really that comes down to your critical information. It comes down to knowing from your family's perspective, not just your immediate family, but parents that are maybe getting older as well. The basic emergency plans. What is your plan? Do you have a plan? Where do people go if, there's an event in the area in which you live and you can't get back home? Just basic emergency plans. And then basic financial information, not specifics on what account numbers, but where do you have accounts? And who do you call if you need information about those accounts? You will already know your security questions, and you don't need to write those kinds of things down and organize those. So every partner in a household, partner in running a household, really does need to know the basic financial picture for the family, and almost have an index to where the accounts are. And then same for legal documents. I mean, living wills and, even divorce agreements and things like that. Where are they?
Right.
and insurance information. So the really critical stuff. And for most people, that gets buried in filing cabinets and, la, 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 I don't want to think about it, or it's bad juju to think about organizing that information. And I can attest from experience, as can my business partners, that when you're in an emergency situation and you don't have that buttoned up and prepared, it's the worst possible position to be in. So give yourself the peace of mind of organizing that really important information. And the thing is, you can't necessarily take your filing cabinet with you in an emergency. So it does take a little bit of forethought and planning to give that or keep that information in a central spot where you can grab it and go in the event of any kind of emergency.
So don't wait and try to organise this later. When you're anxious and under stress, like when you've been given short notice of a looming crisis, your brain tends to shut down and you fall into fight or flight reaction. This is not the time to try and figure out where you left that document that you filed somewhere several years ago. Make it a priority to think about what you would need if you had to take one waterproof folder with you and leave the office or the house within minutes. Let's hope you never need it, but it's one less burden to have on your mind knowing that job is done and ready. You can get the whole interview in my online video stress and burnout course at kitegirlcoach.com. And you can see more of Sarah's great tools and products to lower your stress by organising your life in a more common sense way in visiting her site, which is getbuttonedup.com.